Welcome to Corfu, a beautiful Greek island in the Mediterranean Sea.
Epic.
First time wearing a GoPro on the head, it was a bit of a target.
I was lucky enough to be invited by the Hellenic Cricket Federation to document the 200-year celebration of cricket on Corfu. This island has a rich cricketing history dating back to 1823, when the first match was played between the British Navy and the British garrison. Since then, cricket has become a part of Corfu's culture, with the phrase "Corfu is cricket" being stated several times during my stay. The 200-year celebration took the form of a T20 festival with 6 teams taking part, including the Hellas national cricket team, the Brigade of Gurkhas, the British Army Development 11, the Royal Household Cricket Club, the Lords and Commons Cricket Club, and the Lords Taverners. Each team played 2 pool matches, with the 3rd and 4th playoff and final taking place on the coming Sunday. Ultimately, whichever team won both of their pool matches would take part in the final. So after arriving at Corfu at midday on Wednesday the 19th of April, I was picked up at the airport and immediately travelled to the Marina Cricket Ground, one of 2 grounds used for the festival. As with most grounds in Europe, the pitch was artificial, which meant pace and bounce. The first match was played between the Brigade of Gurkhas and the Hellas national cricket team. Hellas batted first, scoring 183 for 4, with Aslam hitting 54 of 19. In reply, the Brigade of Gurkhas were restricted to 137 for 6 of their 20 overs. This meant that the match finished with the Hellas team claiming the victory. Day 1 under the belt, it was time to head back to the hotel, have a good night's rest and prepare for the next day's cricket. After finishing off some editing and doing a bit of sightseeing in the morning, I travelled with the British Army Development 11 to the only match of the day against the Hellas national cricket team. Even before the match started, you could see the British Army side were up for it. With professional warm-ups, athletic individuals and a palpable drive to win, they were definitely the team to beat. The British Army side batted first and smashed 193 for 7 of their 20 overs, with Alex Rudd, who interestingly went to the same school as I did in South Africa, scoring a blistering 63 of 34. The quality of the British Army bowlers was too good for the Hellas batsmen and were bowled out for 68, with Aiden taking 4 for 19. So with 1 win and 1 defeat from their 2 matches, the Hellas national team secured themselves a place in the 3rd and 4th playoff. That day ended off with a cocktail event with various dignitaries welcoming the teams and players to Corfu. After this, we went into the Corfu town centre to grab some food, and what an amazing place this is. Beautiful architecture and delicious food meant that it was the perfect way to end the second day in Corfu. Day 3 included 2 matches. The first was between the Royal Household Cricket Club and the Lords and Commons Cricket Club. The Royals had a convincing win, meaning that as things stood, the British Army side and the Royals were the front runners for a spot in the final. The second match of the day was between the Lords Taverners and the British Army side, and if the Army side won, they would book themselves a place in Sunday's final. Interestingly, Andy Caddick, an England international fast bowler between 1993 and 2003, was the captain of the Lords Taverners team. As I'm sure many of you remember, he's probably most famous for his iconic spell against the West Indies, where he claimed 4 wickets in 1 over. So after some good negotiations at the toss by Andy and Viv, the Lords Taverners batted first. Here are some of the highlights from the innings.
So they do. This is my shot.
It's a great shot. That's definitely going. Oh, he's nicked out.
Got
Once again, the British Army bowlers and fielders showed their quality, restricting the Lords Taverners to 65 for 7 off their 20 overs. Chasing a low total, I managed to convince my schoolmate Alex to wear my GoPro during his innings. Let's see how he does.
I'm going to cop some serious heat, I would have thought.
Right there, mother. Lee.
Yeah!
Talk to your dad later.
Also bounce quite a lot.
Quite tall, isn't it?
We should probably run between the wickets a bit harder.
That's all you need to do. You can do this on singles.
Yeah. No.
Alex, pleasure having you on the channel. How did it feel out there?
It was good. It's the first time wearing a GoPro on the head. Probably was a bit of a target. Got a couple of chirps as I walked out. But I think I've got something good for the YouTube in terms of getting out for one.
What's your story in the army?
I've been in for about 7 years and came over from SA, so we were at Hilton together, then went to Stellies and then headed off to the British Army. Just got epic opportunities. Spent a lot of time away from home, opportunities to play cricket, opportunities to do Nordic skiing, opportunities to work with the UN in Mali and Kenya, etc. So it's just been an epic opportunity.
Alex, thanks so much.
Thank you
Real
very much.
pleasure to see you, man.
Cheers, eh?
Unfortunately, not the innings that Alex wanted, but to be honest, I wasn't complaining, as the footage of Andy Caddick salmon diving to take a screamer in the slips made it all worthwhile. Ultimately, the British Army side knocked the low total off comfortably, which meant they booked their place in Sunday's final. One thing I haven't mentioned yet is that David Gower, a former England captain and commentator, is the president of the Lord's Taverners and joined the team to support them at the festival. Luckily enough, I was able to interview him about the work the Lord's Taverners do and get his insights into the upcoming Ashes series.
I am president of the Lord's Taverners, have been for the last 2-3 years, which has been in many ways uneventful for various things called COVID, that sort of stuff. But the Taverners' history goes back 75 years now. Started, as the name implies, at Lord's Cricket Ground, in the tavern stand, and was a collection of famous actors, cricket lovers who decided there were ways that they could raise money for good purposes. And the ethos of the tavern is basically to support young, disadvantaged, disabled children. And in fact, here in Corfu, a couple of the players that are with us have come through something called Wickets, which is getting people off the streets into cricket. And the guys we've got here, 2 of them here, are now coaches for that same scheme. So there's a lot of really good stuff that goes on. They have toured all sorts of places. I've been to Hong Kong, we've been to South Africa, we played table cricket, which is another of their programs. Table cricket on Table Mountain, to be part of this little festival to mark 200 years in Corfu of their cricket is extraordinary. I mean, who would have thought that Corfu would have been playing cricket for 200 years? And I read a bit about the history. It's extraordinary. When we finish this little escapade here in Corfu, we have some serious cricket back home in the UK. The Ashes, singly the most sort of inspiring competition to be part of if you're either born or playing for England or Australia. It doesn't matter who else is good in the world, the Ashes is that special. And I think this summer's Ashes is going to be yet more special. If you look at the strength of the two teams, well, they've both got good bowling attacks. They've actually both got batsmen, maybe less, dare I say it, less so in the depth for Australia, but they've both got batsmen who can make runs quickly, which is the name of the game in modern Test cricket nowadays. So I think this Ashes series coming up is one to watch. And when you have a lovely problem, which is how do you fit in everyone who hopefully by then will be fit? I mean, the key question is Johnny Bairstow, who still has to prove his fitness, but if he's fit and can even hint at playing like he did last year, well, you can't leave him out. I'm predicting England to win this. They're always well matched. England-Australia is always well matched, and it can be key moments, it can be key games, it can be one game can tilt the balance, but I think England have the greater all-round strength at the moment. And as ever, the spirit, the competition will be just epic.
The first match of day 4 was played between the Lord's Taverners and the Lords and Commons Cricket Club. Once again, I convinced an unwitting Lord's Taverners player, Will, to wear my GoPro, and lucky that I did, as he played a brilliant innings.
Me or you? You. Oh, bloody hell.
No pressure with the camera on, mate. Right.
Thank you for that. Yeah, go. Just the one, nice and easy. Here, go on.
Go on, is it?
Oh no! This is tough.
I know it is.
I would take yesterday every day of the week.
Yep. Oh, f***ing hell, go. Thank God for that.
Well done. Pretty good pitch.
It's-
Either you
yeah.
give the pitch or you wait for it to
Yeah,
be short.
that's why I adore you. Yeah, go on, you're fine. He'll go my end. Should go. Oh no, I towed it. Yeah, go on. Yeah, go on. I think there's a change of bowler from the medium pacer. Oh, yeah, go on. Yep, go on. Shot. No. Yeah, go on. Yeah, you're cool. Sorry. It's up to you, you can go. Go on the ball. Oh, that one.
Just put a dent in their
Body. Oh.
Just wear a GoPro more often, man. You're batting brilliantly. Perfect. Keep going, man.
Oh. Oh, there's someone out there. I thought he was on the side.
With Will's innings supported by some of his teammates, Lords Taverners put on a formidable score of 206 for 5 off their 20 overs. This was ultimately too much for the Lords and Commons team, who managed 106 for 8 off their 20 overs. The afternoon match was between the Royals and the Brigade of Gurkhas. The Royals won by 59 runs, which meant that they booked their place in the next day's final against the British Army side. This also meant that the third and fourth playoff would be between the Hellas national team and the Lord Taverners. As I mentioned earlier, the festival matches were played at 2 venues, the second of which was the iconic Spianada cricket ground in the heart of Corfu town. With restaurants and cafes lining the boundary and a consistent flow of locals and tourists going about their business, all in the shadow of the old Corfu fortress, this is probably the most atmospheric cricket ground I have visited. This was also the venue for the final 2 matches of the festival, which meant I was really looking forward to the next day's cricket. The day ended off with a gala event to celebrate the week's cricket and, more importantly, 200 years of cricket in Corfu. But this is where I have some really bad news. On the way back to the UK, I had a YouTuber's nightmare and lost my GoPro with all the footage that was on it from the gala event and the finals day, including a match that I played for the Hellas national team. Needless to say, I was pretty distraught, but I've used footage that I borrowed from other people at the event, as well as my side camera, to continue the story, albeit not as I had planned. And so we arrive at the finals day, which was played at the Spianada cricket ground. The first match was the third and fourth playoff between the Lords Taverners and the Hellas cricket team, with the Hellas team kindly letting me play for them. We won the toss and bowled first. This turned out to be a good decision, as we made the most of the early start, dismissing several of the Lords Taverners batsmen before they had a chance to recover from the previous gala evening's late night endeavours. Interestingly, unlike many European teams which are made up of expats, the Hellas team was primarily made up of native Corfu players players, which was really great to see. The only problem was that the majority of the communication was in Greek, so I spent much of the time trying to figure out what was going on and getting moved into different fielding positions via sign language. Nevertheless, we managed to bowl the Lord's Taverners out for 65, with the highlight being George taking 4 wickets and me taking a catch to get Andy Caddick out. After an early wicket, Spiros and Ali steadied the ship, taking the score to 30 for 1. However, 2 quick wickets meant that I was in and facing ex-England bowler Andy Caddick, albeit a bit slower than in his prime. This didn't last very long as I ran down the wicket, missed the ball and was stumped for 1. If ever one's ego got someone out, this was it. In my head, all I was thinking was that I was going to hit this ex-England international back over his head for 6, and obviously not taking into account that he was an international player for a reason. Needless to say, I walked off with my tail between my legs. Well bowled, Andy. In the end, we won relatively comfortably with 6 wickets down, which meant that the Hellas team claimed 3rd spot in the festival. Just to say a big thank you to the Hellas team for allowing me to join them for the match. I really enjoyed it. So this brings us to the final of the 200-year celebration of cricket in Corfu, which was played between the British Army Development side and the Royal Household Cricket Club, the 2 deserved finalists. The British Army side were favourites coming into the match, but the Royals had some match winners, so it was poised to be an interesting match. The British Army side batted first, and although they lost wickets throughout their innings, they managed to keep their run rate relatively high. Ben played a particularly good innings, scoring 56 or 40, which allowed the middle order to bat around him. Their depth in batting was evident and allowed them to reach a really competitive score of 157 for 7 off their 20 overs. As mentioned, the Royals had some real firepower at the top of the order, as shown by Mandeep's 42 off 28 balls. The first power play mirrored the first innings, and it looked like we were in for a real nail-biting finish. But ultimately, the bowling attack was too strong, and after a few crucial wickets, the match fizzled out, and the British Army side ended up winning relatively comfortably. The Royals were bowled out for 113, which meant the British Army Development 11 were crowned the deserved winners of the 200-year Corfu cricket celebration. And so this brought an end to my time in Corfu. What a special place and what a privilege it was to be a part of this celebration of cricket. A massive thank you to the Hellenic Cricket Federation, and in particular Helena, Otto and Alex, for organising the event and allowing me to document the week. My final thought is that even though I enjoyed my time on the island, I have unfinished business here and would very much like to visit Corfu again to play and film a match properly. As always, a massive thank you to all of you for watching, and I'm looking forward to showing you the next match on the channel, which is the start of the 2023 league season. Cheers everyone.